We are all about empowerment. We're all about innovation. We're all about impact and results. And I want to welcome you to Workplace Wednesday. Workplace Wednesday. I am excited to be here like I am every day, whether it's a Tuesday, a Wednesday, a Thursday, or a Friday, or even a Saturday. I am excited here. And for those of you who are new, Radical Change is a platform as well as a company that focuses on empowerment, innovation, and results through community building, through innovative conferencing, through one-on-one personal development coaching, and through next level executive and organizational consulting. And in all of that, one of the amazing things that Radical Change, the platform, does as it hosts the Leadership Learning Collective. And the Leadership Learning Collective is the nonprofit organization that focuses on education in the areas of critical thought, leadership, technology, and the workplace. And that's what we're here today. And today is Wednesday. And on Wednesdays, we focus on being what I like to call workplace wise. I like to call Wednesday workplace wise. And today's topic is going to be in line with what I've been talking about. And today's topic is navigating trauma, narcissism, and healing in the workplace. So let's get into it. First and foremost, if this is your first Radical Change Leadership event, live or the replay or the podcast, welcome, welcome, welcome. My name is Vonda Page. I am the chief and I am the founder. And I started a series on healing from a lifetime of narcissistic abuse in July of 2024. And this work has been groundbreaking and it's been life-changing for me from the standpoint of I have so much content that I have created over the years. And now that I'm really focused on this, I'm organizing it and I am putting out so many things that are going to be able to help you. And I am excited that the Tech Talk Tuesdays and the Workplace Wise Wednesdays and the Thought Works Thursdays are going to be able to help you in this journey. Now, whether you are navigating trauma, whether you're navigating narcissism, whether you're navigating healing, if you got to go to work, it is important that you have some tools, that you have some tactics, and that you have techniques for yourself. So let's get into it. The first thing that I want to talk about is the experiences. We're going to talk about the impact, and then we're going to really talk about pathways. We're going to talk about it. And I want to really talk about how people's experiences are based on their industry, it's based on their role, it's based on organizational hierarchy. And, it's such a likelihood that if you are an essential worker, it's likely that you're going to be in a subservient role. And those roles are often overseen by people who are narcissists, right? Or they're carrying out a narcissist agenda inside of a narcissist organization. So today, right, what I want to walk away with is I want to make sure that y'all seriously understand the importance of self-prioritization, the importance of self-care. And I want to make sure also that if you know that you need some help because you're in a narcissistically abusive relationship, you're in a toxic relationship, you're in a toxic workplace, and you need some resources, listen, download the Radical Change app and message me, and we will get it on and popping. Okay, so let's get it started. Let's get it started. First and foremost, let's talk about understanding workplace trauma. Okay. Now my dog is barking in the background, but don't you worry about that. She is okay. She's bullying me for food, like she likens to do when I get on these conference calls. But I have an app which allows me to walk around the house and get out the food and do what I need to do and keep it moving at the same time as you probably hear her little teeny footsteps pitty pat and pitty pat pat papping on the floor. Okay, so first thing, I want to qualify what is narcissism. And I want to talk a little bit about narcissistic personality disorder. And we need to do this because it is important that we set the stage. It is important that we set the context for the conversation, because I think sometimes, right, people look at words, especially the words like narcissism, and they look at it like, oh, well, everybody is talking about narcissism, or oh, it's not really that big of a deal, or blah, 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 or whatever. And the bottom line is narcissism is pervasive in our society. And because narcissism is pervasive in our society, it is one of the reasons that we don't do anything about it. It's been normalized. I did a podcast episode that you will hear coming up, and it is in my Managing My Own Radical Change podcast series. And in that podcast, I talk about an episode of Everybody Loves Raymond, where Raymond tries to tell Robert to feign incompetence that he can't send out a decent wedding invitation. So, of course, Robert listens to dumbass Raymond, sends out a terrible wedding invitation. Everybody goes berserko, but then everything is fine, right? He's forgiven, all's forgiven, and everybody moves on like it wasn't nothing in the first place. Okay. Um, and what it boils down to is that narcissism is rampant. We laugh at it. Everybody Loves Raymond is a sitcom, and we laugh, right? We laugh at narcissism. I was watching it, and I said, Ray, narcissist. Robert, narcissist. Marie, narcissist. Frank, narcissist. All in their own little way, right? All in their own little way. All got a different little flavor to it, but they were all still narcissists nonetheless. All of them, right? And it made me think, like, okay, well, if we are watching shows like this and we are laughing at narcissism, we are laughing at manipulation, we're laughing at gaslighting, we're laughing at abuse, we're laughing at intentional embarrassment, like we're laughing. And guess what? This is the society that we're in. So the workplace, right, isn't anything except for a mirror. It's a microcosm, and it's also a mirror, right? And so workplace trauma is real. So narcissistic abuse, I want you to look up narcissistic personality disorder. There are 9 traits. And those 9 character traits, you don't have to do all 9 to be a narcissist. You have to have 5, some people say 6, to kind of be classified technically as one having narcissistic personality disorder. So if you do have narcissistic personality disorder, or if you are in a relationship where you believe you're being abused, it's really important to recognize that that is workplace trauma. That's workplace trauma. Number 2, the second type of workplace trauma is the systemic issues, right? It's the systemic stuff. And the systemic stuff is because of narcissism, right? Because of patriarchy, and men get to decide everything. It's their world. We just live in it, and we have to navigate it, right? And the men who are poor and or who may see themselves as advocates to women and children, they have to navigate it too. But at the end of the day, this is a patriarchal, narcissistic patriarchal society, period. And many of our societal counterparts are just trying to figure out how they become the head narcissist. That's what people are trying to figure out, and that's where we are with it. So in addition to narcissistic abuse, right, the second part to workplace trauma is all about the systemic issues. It's all about the systemic stuff, right? So we got inequities in pay, advancement, but specifically for Black women in the workplace, specifically, right, for Black queer folk in the workplace that are out in any kind of way, but absolutely for Black women, absolutely for Native Indigenous people, absolutely. Everybody else is made up, and I'm not buying it. I'm not buying it. I'm not buying it. The statistics are what they are. There's no statistics that ask a person are you gay or are you straight? They don't ask that on the I-9 form, but they damn sure ask if you're black. And black people get paid the least, and black women get paid down at the bottom, although black women have the highest education. It's been like that, and we know it, but there is nothing that is willing to be done about it. And that is trauma, because that is financial trauma, it's psychological trauma, it's emotional trauma. And all of those traumas can lead to physical trauma, right? Because you have a physical outcome based on your other issues. So let's get into it. Let's get into a couple of statistics, okay? So black women earn somewhere between 55 and 60 cents for every dollar earned by a white non-Hispanic man, right? That's according to the Census Bureau. They still got it off a little bit. But persistent pay gaps and no progress toward equity. None. There's no progress. The Fearless Fund, they got rid of that in 2023. And that was on purpose. And so these things are purposeful, and these things are harmful, and these things are damaging, and these things are trauma. These things are trauma in the workplace, and it is critical. It's critical that we understand that these things are trauma in the workplace. And I know, right, that nobody wants to sit around and thinking about the workplace is such a terrible place, right? But it is, because it's built on narcissism. It's built on, how do I pay people as little as possible and extract as much out of them as possible so I can make as much money as possible. That's what they're doing, and that's what they've been doing. And since 2020, they've made more money than ever since the COVID pandemic and all of that. And because we, as regular, ordinary citizens and people, we don't understand our own power, we don't fight, we don't do anything to really combat or fight those powers that be. We don't really do anything about it, right? We just accept it and say, well, this is how it goes. We don't put out, we don't protest. And not that we don't want to, but in our country, in America, we've been conditioned out of protesting because we know we're going to get gassed or shot, right? That's what it is. We know that facial recognition is a thing, and you are not allowed to protest, period, end of story. And that is very, very, very unfortunate. Everybody knows it. Now, if we talk about, the workplace, right, and the way we get treated in the workplace, I think sometimes the reason that people have a hard time understanding that relationship is because people think that the workplace has their friends in it. People think that the workplace has their friends in it. And the thing is, the people at work are not your friends. They are not your friends, not even a little bit. And those people aren't your friends. And so it's important to keep a distinction between those personal and professional boundaries. Like, they don't need to know anything about you other than, what time you coming in the office and what time you leaving, what time you logging in and what time you logging off, what time you going to lunch, maybe, what time you coming back from lunch. But they don't need to know anything. They don't need to know that. What you need to do at work is to do your job, because there is a lot of narcissism in the workplace. And some of the key issues are workplace mobbing and bullying, right? And workplace violence, right? If you're not familiar with workplace mobbing, that's where, people get a group and they kind of gang up on one person and start, saying, oh, this person has a bad attitude, or this person or this person doesn't want to be a team player. And bullying is what it is, right? It's one person or two. It could be a group, but it is intentionally harassing and picking on a person. Those things happen all the time, right? And we know about workplace violence, right? That has just stepped up over the last 10 years. It's gotten worse, right? The thing is that the work of healing is critical because narcissism is everywhere. So inside of the workplace, right, what does narcissism look like, right? I told y'all to look up the 9 traits, but it looks like grandiosity, it looks like manipulation, and it looks like a lack of empathy. They can fake empathy pretty damn good, but it's real. They don't have emotional empathy. They might have some cognitive empathy, but they don't really have it. Those are just three characteristics. The impact on employees, of course, is the harm, but it's reduced job satisfaction and turnover, right? So they're constantly looking for new jobs. And workplace stress is a significant contributor to mental health issues, including anxiety and depression. Because at work, we are forced to be there and forced to deal with the way that people treat us just so that we can have a place to live, just so that we can have electricity, just so that we can have internet and gas and hot water and trash and grass mowed and whatever, right? And that impact is something that we don't get the chance to process. We don't get a chance to process, and we don't get a chance to process it is because narcissism is prevalent in the workplace. It's prevalent in the workplace. But let's talk about what we need to do to heal from it, right? And not only heal from narcissism in the workplace, but heal from narcissism in general. I want to talk about 3 steps. Just 3 steps. The first one is acknowledging the trauma, recognize what happened, do it without gaslighting yourself. Do it without making excuses for people. But just recognize and acknowledge what happened. The second thing is assess the impact. Understand the personal and professional repercussions. I had to leave corporate America. I had to leave big tech. I had to leave corporate America because I could not take the way I was treated any longer. I could not be treated like garbage at work anymore. I could not be paid the least, even though I'm the most experienced and the most educated. I couldn't do it anymore. That was the impact to me, right? And then the third piece is around radical acceptance and accepting that the stuff that happened, it can't be changed. You got to forgive yourself for anything that you perceive as a failure or a shortcoming. And the thing is, right, the healing process itself, it I always say revolve and evolve, but it involves 2 things. Number one is self-work, right? Consistent, persevering, and enduring determination. Use a journal, use a notebook. Hey, you can buy my journal, right? Use voice memos, but you must do the self-work, persistent, consistent, persevering, determined to heal and do the self work. And the second is utilize tools and resources. Utilize strategies like gray rocking to get yourself, start to move yourself towards safety away from these relationships and get some professional coaching, whether it's with me or with somebody else. Get help, get tools, and get resources. That's part of the healing work. And recognize, right, that it takes a year to adopt new habits. So going and getting a coach for 6 weeks, that's good. It could get you on the right track. But unless you keep everything going, those things that you learned in 6 weeks for a year, then you're going to go right back to your same thing. You're going to go right back to your same thing unless you keep it going. So I want to recommend that you really put that self-work and tools and resources into place. Now, I want to talk a little bit about, like, what do you do if you're currently in a toxic environment? What do you do when you're in these harmful environments? The first thing you want to do is you really want to learn about NPD and BPD. You need to understand these behaviors. You need to really understand them so that you can recognize them. You want to know what love bombing looks like. You want to know what mirroring looks like. You want to understand gaslighting. You want to know manipulation. Like, you want to understand these tactics and know what these things look like so that you will be able to keep yourself safe. And the second thing is avoid confrontation. Don't get into it. Don't be talking about, oh, you narcissist motherfucker, I knew it, blah, blah, blah. No, don't do that. Don't do that. Do not confront the narc. Just focus on your own safety, right? Just focus on doing your research. Just focus on you. Okay. The thing you need to do is keep a private notebook to record your experiences and process some of your trauma and speak with experts. Consult with somebody who's an expert on narcissistic abuse recovery. Okay. And then I want you to know, right, that if you need support, I do one-on-one coaching and advice on dealing with narcissistic abuse. And you can reach out by just downloading the app and sending me a message. It is that simple. It is that simple. Now, the thing that is super important, right, in this whole process, when it comes to dealing with abuse, when it comes to recovery, when it comes to dealing with narcissism, it is so important to have ongoing self prioritization, wellness, care strategies. You have to have ongoing personal work so you can thrive, so you can heal. You have to do that for yourself because nobody is coming and nobody's going to do it for you. There is not anybody that's going to just sweep into your life and be like, you know what, you need to get a skincare regimen and be more detailed about it. You know what, you need to change your eating habits and stop eating refined sugars. You know what, you need to listen. Nobody's coming and nobody's going to do any of that for you. There's nobody going to come, right? The U.S. Census, they know what it is. They know what income and poverty is in the United States. They're not going to do shit about it. The corporations, Lean In, LinkedIn, Sherm, everybody else, they know what it is. They know what equity looks like. They're not going to change. The American Psychological Foundation, the American Medical Association, they know what the state of stress is in America. Okay, the National Institution for Health and everybody else, they know what the problems are, y'all. And nobody is willing to do anything because in our society, right? This is what it is. In our society, right? People do not fight for what we know is right. And the reason we don't do it is not our fault. The reason is a whole lot of damn programming, a whole lot of trauma, a whole lot of uh, uh, distraction, right? There's all of these things that got us messed up. And all of these things keep us from not only being our best selves, but keep us from being able to do the work of change. How about it? The work of radical change. And more so to do the work of thinking, right? We have all of these synapses. We have all of this stuff that's happening. And we don't even get a chance to ping out any of it, right? I heard a statistic, something about that there's something like 150 million characters, right? And out of 150 million characters, we only use like one when you think about the vastness of our brain. So, like, the percentage that we really use is super small because a lot of the stuff that we do is subconscious, and we do a lot of things subconsciously because we've been programmed and conditioned to, right? We go to school for 12 years and we learn a whole bunch of dumb shit. We don't even learn the things that's most important for our survival. We don't learn about foraging food. We don't learn about, safe food temperatures. We don't learn about how to use lime for deodorant. We don't learn about, you know, just like we just don't learn anything that is useful. We learn the things that condition us to be able to work, to condition us to strive for attainment of certain things, but we don't learn those things that are super important, right? We don't learn how to be full human beings that have our own autonomy, right? We don't learn that it's okay to say no, right? We get told that people in authority are always right, right? We get told that if you can't fight city hall, right? We get told that, if somebody gets a high paying job or a high title, then it must mean they're a smart person. Like, we get told a whole lot of bullshit. And most of it's not true, but because we don't have the time to think, we don't have the time to dream, we don't have the time to imagine, we end up getting stuck. We end up getting stuck. And that being stuck is the result. That being stuck is the impact, right, of what has happened to us. And once we realize that the impact is us being stuck in whatever bad habit, in whatever unproductive process, in whatever cyclical happening, once we realize that we are stuck there, we move to the radical acceptance piece, and we move to the recognizing that nothing from the past can be changed. Not a damn stinking thing can be changed. And all we can do is forgive ourselves for anything that we think that we did wrong. If we walking around here thinking that we did something wrong and that our life is fucked up because of a matter of, X amount of changes or X amount of choices that we made and blah, 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 blah. Listen, if you can point to particular harm, if you can point to parents and other adults harming you, failing you, leaving you letting you down as a child, especially when you're very young, listen, those things are still impacting you now. And that is why it's important to acknowledge the trauma. That's why it's important to recognize what happened and don't gaslight yourself. That's why the step after that is to assess the impact. What was the personal repercussion of that? How did it impact you? I left my tech career. I didn't want to, but I couldn't deal with it no more. I could not be treated like that anymore. I cannot watch people. I can't. I just can't. It's too demoralizing. It's too sad. It hurts too much. But most people don't want to say that something hurts. Most people don't want to deal with the pain. Most people don't want to say, "Oh, this sucks ass and I'm tired of it and I want to cry for a little while." But we have to be consistent in accepting that past things can't be changed. We have to persevere in overcoming, right, those parts of us that's telling us bullshit in our subconscious mind about how we're not good enough, and that's why our mom did this, and that's why our father wasn't there, and that's why this, and that's why. No, 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 no. All of that is what takes perseverance in terms of changing that self-talk. I talk about self-talk is our message. I talk about our mindset is um our mindset is our mind, right, the way we think. I talk about our mood is our feelings or our attitude, and our movement is our behaviors or the way we act, the things we do. And when we have a bunch of self talk, a bunch of negative messages, that is really something that hinders our self work, our healing. That's why you want to constantly be using strategies, constantly be in some sort of community with other people who are at least trying to do the same thing. At least trying to do the same thing. And I'm not one for having big communities because I learned a long time ago that most people are so harmed and so damaged that they don't want to see other people healing and doing well. So I only do some very small groups. I mostly do one on one. But in a very small group, of people doing self work. It's life changing. And that's what we do inside of the Leadership Learning Collective. We have small groups that work on different areas, whether we are talking about parenting or whether we talking about addiction, but literally walking through the process of learning to lead the change that we want to see, learning to be the change that we want to see. That's what radical change leadership is all about. And that is why the work of radical change leadership is the work of managing your own radical change. And that involves healing and recovery. Period. It involves healing and recovery. And healing and recovery involves self work that has consistency, that you are persevering and enduring in your determination to get it done, and that you're using strategies, tactics, and tools and resources to aid you along the way, to aid you along the way. And so, right, I want to leave you with the 3 steps. Um, if you're in a toxic environment at home, but especially in the workplace, learn about narcissism and avoid confrontations. Learn about narcissism and avoid the confrontation. Number 2, take some practical steps like documentation and seeking help. And number 3, get that support through consultations, whether one-on-one or just, some advice about dealing with narcissistic abuse. So it's important to take care of yourself ongoing so that you can heal and thrive. So thank you so much for hanging out. I really appreciate it. And I hope that you got as much out of this session as I did, because every time I do a session like this, I always learn something. And when I think about recognizing that now I've had an entire whole ass history of narcissistic abuse, and I know how to handle it as I encounter new narcissists in different interactions, I know exactly what to do. I know exactly what to do. And when you're ready, if you need some support, if you need some help, let me know. All you got to do is download the app, the Leaders Learn Radical Change app. That's all you got to do is download that app and then send me a message. And in that message, just let me know, hey, that you are ready to get down. You are ready to do some work. And for the month of September and maybe even October, we'll see, I am giving free 15-minute consultations to every person who gives me an Apple review or a podcast review, in addition to a rating. And all you got to do is give a screen capture of your review and rating submission, and then you get your 15 minutes free one-on-one consultation. So download the app, and I'm looking forward to talking to you. And I'm also looking forward to seeing you in the upcoming symposium, Power Over Procrastination, which is September 25th and 26th. So it is coming up in 2 weeks, and I'm looking forward to seeing y'all then. Have a good one. Bye-bye.